Alrighty everybody, welcome back. It is now September 21st of 2022, and a lot of Star Wars fans have been having a lot of mixed reactions based on Star Wars Andor. It doesn't really seem like it's as bad as Obi-Wan Kenobi was when it came to how fans were giving out feedback. It more or less seems like a lot of fans have a lot of positive, emotions going into the show so far, and other fans are very much kind of saying that it's boring or that it's very slow. So you have a mixed bag right now, but we can't really get the full picture until a couple of days from now, where everybody has seen the first 3 episodes, so we can get a correct and accurate read on what the majority of the fan base really thinks. But so far, pretty solid. Now, of course, everything related to Star Wars, FAVREAU and FILONI are really trying to turn things around for the future. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about the new universe is that there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm between Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, George Lucas, etc., and what they are about to do with, of course, the Star Wars Legends lore, and turning that into canon material under Disney. Now, given that, of course, there are a lot of other factors that are rolling into that, they have to be very careful with making the slightest mistakes in between. Favreau even talked about this about 2 weeks ago, that if you make the smallest mistake in a franchise like Star Wars, it creates a domino effect that a lot of fans just really create a backlash over. So you have to do a lot of, very careful, ways of handling the franchise. Now, with that being said, however, what's even all the more intriguing is exactly what they are currently doing for The Mandalorian Season 4 and more. Now, with many new Star Wars projects currently in the works by Disney and Lucasfilm, creators Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are beginning to enter the final filming stages of Star Wars Ahsoka that will eventually head into post-production for the fans. Now, further, it's described that currently creator George Lucas is working closely with both Favreau and Filoni on The Mandalorian 4 that is set to provide a very special moment for the Star Wars fandom. Now, further, it's described that one of the main scenes that are already being worked on behind the scenes with the storyboarding process is set to introduce a very intense moment from Mara Jade facing Luke Skywalker. Now, it's noted that one of the big lightsaber duels that are being written for The Mandalorian 4 between Favreau and Lucas is set to take place on top of Luke Skywalker's second Jedi temple that is located on Yavin 4, just like in Star Wars Legends. Now, Mara Jade here is said to have followed Luke Skywalker's X-Wing to the destination and faces him in an intense lightsaber duel on top of the Yavin 4 temple, with their lightsabers clashing against each other. So far, there are a total of 8 storyboards that illustrate this scene that have been labeled as finalized to be used in the upcoming scripts of the show. Now, let me pause here quickly for a second. Now, this is something that has been approved by George Lucas and how he's working very closely with Jon Favreau on all of this, and it really says a lot, and there's a reason why this says a lot. You guys may not be aware, but back in the day, Lucas was very, very critical over the character Mara Jade. He wasn't really 100% on board with her, and given that there are a lot of other reasons behind that, this is basically him regulating the character, adding on new layers to the story, and basically recanonizing the fact that Luke is indeed going to have a temple on Yavin 4 once again. Just like in Star Wars Legends, that is now going to be returning to the Star Wars universe, labeling it as Luke Skywalker's second Jedi temple that's going to include more of his older students. So you can see what they're doing here. They have 2 different temples, one on Ossus that you saw in The Last Jedi flashbacks, and in the Book of Boba, and now you're going to have the second one that takes place on Yavin 4. So they're setting up this big fight between both Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker, really kind of kicking things off in The Mandalorian Season 4, setting her up to be this temporary villain, if you want to say it that way, that eventually becomes an ally or a hero, whatever have you. Now, if you guys have followed Star Wars Legends, you will already know about Mara Jade's fate. that she is eventually poisoned by Darth Caedus, aka, of course, the original version of Ben Solo, Jason Solo. So there's a lot at hand here with the character of Mara Jade and how Lucas is setting this up with Favreau to create this big battle, this big lightsaber duel between both Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade on Yavin 4. Now, the overall illustration process, the storyboarding process, has been labeled as finalized to be used in the scripts, and Favreau is getting ready to begin working on The Mandalorian Season 4's second, draft, and really getting that out there. Now, moving past all of this, actress Karen Gillan is still on to become the live-action version of Mara Jade that will fight Luke Skywalker. One of the other storyboards involves a moment in which Luke Skywalker force pushes Mara Jade off the top of the Jedi Temple and then eventually stops her from falling in mid-air, very similar to what Kenobi did to young Leia in Episode 2. Now, this is said to be the moment that Luke saves Mara from certain death and turns her to the good side to fight for the right cause against Thrawn and his forces. Lucas is said to be behind the scenes with Favreau and will be a part of the actual script at hand. Now, I don't know about you guys, but everything related to The Mandalorian Season 4 is looking very bright. Now, Mando 3 is in post-production. They're trying to get this thing out by February of next year, as, initially they wanted to do that. It's looking like there might be a slight delay until March, because in the trailer, it doesn't really specify the release date, it just says coming soon, in 2023. Now, the thing about all of this, too, that is very surprising and quite a big shocker is the fact that they are going to include the very moment in which Luke Skywalker turns Mara Jade to the good side, and this is how it's going to be done, is that he force pushes her off of the Yavin 4 temple, catches her in mid-air using the Force, and pulls her back, and saves her from pretty much dying, essentially. And you can see that they took that from past material, which is great and all. Luke did something very similar in Legends, but Joby Harold also did that with Kenobi catching Leia in Episode 2 of the Kenobi series, so that seems to be a common trend in Star Wars as a whole. Now, of course, John and Dave are going to be very busy, and we talked about this in the last video. They are going to become co-writers for Andor Season 2. They want to include multiple cameos in there. So far, with the ratings, alright, the overall Rotten Tomatoes score for Star Wars Andor as we speak right now, alright, and granted, this is the audience score, and there's not a whole lot of them in just yet, but as of right now, it stands still at 81%. So far, this show is really performing a whole lot better than the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, at least from the audience perspective. Now, I know it's Rotten Tomatoes, some may say you should only take that with a grain of salt, I understand that, but it gives you a rough idea of the acceptance level of the fans and how they are viewing the Andor series. So let me know what you guys think about that show. Let me know what you guys also think about George Lucas and Jon Favreau's treatment of Mara Jade. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From nights in the